And with that, the XFL MVP is... With the championship game finally approaching this weekend, I did see the XFL already release their awards for the 2023 regular season. In today's video though, we're going to discuss who I think should have won the awards, as well as discuss who should try the NFL. If you're new here and like what you see, make sure to hit the like button. So, let's talk about it. So with these awards, as I already said, the XFL has already picked linebacker Pita Talmopenu to win the Defensive Player of the Year award, which I can see why. Pita did lead the XFL in forced fumbles with 4 and was tied second in the league in sacks with 7.5 in 10 weeks, leading a monster defensive line with Maximilian Roberts and Vic Beasley Jr. Though, all due respect to Pita, I do think players should be chosen for these awards is how well they've done throughout the season. And while Pita has had a great season, it took him until week 5 against the worst team in the XFL to put up a majority of his numbers, having 3 sacks and 4 TFLs in that game, and then the last 3 weeks of the season not seeming to get that magic back against teams like St. Louis, Houston, and Seattle. Who I'd choose to be Defensive Player of the Year would have to be the inside linebacker for the San Antonio Brahmas. Number 15, Jordan Williams. Jordan essentially played like an absolute maniac meathead of a linebacker this season, as he led the XFL in total tackles with 89, varying between 7 and 11 tackles per game, making huge plays, including a scoop and score against the Renegades to help the Brahmas win. And at the end of the season, when he picked off Jordan Ta'amu as he baited him to throw the interception. All in all, Jordan Williams was the ultimate defender over the season, leading the league in total tackles by a good margin. For the Offensive Player of the Year, you could go with a bunch of different options. For wide receiver, you can look for the shifty, speedy Jacour Pearson from Seattle. On the ground game, you can most definitely think of running back Abram Smith, who led the XFL in rushing yards and was tied with touchdowns. Again, in DC, you could definitely go with the XFL's choice with quarterback Jordan Ta'amu, who has had a great year. Ta'amu was by far one of the more athletic quarterbacks, as he would dominate the air and the ground, as he'd pass for over 1,800 yards and 14 touchdowns, and rush for 300 yards and 3 scores. Jordan would then begin to start looking like his St. Louis self from the previous XFL season, as he'd just shred defenses with his quick and tight plays all season long. Though with how good he did play this season, there are a few things that are holding him back from winning this award, in my opinion. 1, he essentially had to switch spots with backup Derek King for some drives throughout the season. So that basically led to his dissatisfying stat line this season, when it could have been better with more playtime. What? 2, the defenders had another great player in the backfield alongside Ta'amu, which took a lot of pressure off him, that player being named Abram Smith. What? And number 3, Ben DiNucci was playing in the XFL. Now, I know. For those who have been watching the previous videos throughout the season of me covering the XFL, you'd know that I've loved Jordan Ta'amu all year long. But essentially it's true. Ben DiNucci has had by far a better season in every stat line, really. Ben DiNucci was the only real gunslinger out there, as he led the XFL in passing yards with 2,671 yards while throwing 20 touchdowns, taking the top off of so many defenses with his star-studded receivers like Jacour Pearson, Juwan Green, and Josh Gordon. Ben really a lot of the time seemed like the heart and soul of that Seattle Dragon squad, and just take over the game a lot of the time when he needed to. Because though he did throw a high of 14 interceptions this season, he would always step back up there and throw dimes and make huge offensive plays, including the Vegas game winner to Josh Gordon. And even with all of that, Ben DiNucci also led the XFL quarterbacks in rushing yards with 305 rushing yards and 3 scores, topping off Jordan Ta'amu, including a massive truck in Week 9 against the Battlehawks when Ben DiNucci literally knocked out a linebacker cold in order to score. Now, with all those great numbers and amazing performances, it all comes down to this: the MVP award, the most important individual award in sports. The greats receive these awards for their tremendous effort for their team throughout the entire season, putting them in good situations to win every time. And I have to look to AJ McCarron. AJ coming into the season was the NFL vet of the league, and he performed like one, being so accurate throughout with very few mistakes, leading the XFL with a 68.8 completion percentage and threw the most touchdowns with 24 of them bad boys and only threw 6 interceptions. What really put AJ above the rest of the competition this season was his amazing 13 touchdown and 0 turnover play in the second half of the regular season and his lights out game in week 10 to try and send the St. Louis Battlehawks to the playoffs. With his monster 6 touchdown day, the city of St. Louis and the Battlehawks thought it would be enough to move on. Many around the league and many fans, from what I've heard, even thought that they were essentially screwed because they didn't make it with that game. I'm really excited to see what AJ can do moving forward with the XFL, since earlier this season he did mention that he did not want to join the NFL this season because he did not want a backup role, which makes sense because the XFL basically gives players the opportunity to really show what they got on the field because the NFL already has so much amazing talent that they can't do so. That's why I do see a lot of the players that are rumored to be going in the XFL. I think they'll just stay in the XFL eventually because there is so much talent that's already in the NFL per se. So a lot of the quarterbacks trying to get in, I don't think will make it in because of the sheer quarterback talent that already exists in the NFL right now. All right, that's it. We are finally done with the XFL. I've enjoyed these last 3 months covering all these games throughout the season, and I want to say thank you for everyone who's watched these videos and supported the channel each and every week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, on to the NFL.